Who would be a Wolves fan, eh?
On goes Paul. People might yet win it here for Wolves. Flash in the shot. What a goal!
Good evening. Welcome to the Wolves Fancast. This is your review show for the Aston Villa game with Wolves 2, Aston Villa 0. Just let that sink in, Wolves fans, just for a couple of seconds. Just Wolves 2, Aston Villa 0. How sweet does that taste? And this is your review show in association with the Sports Social Podcast Network, FCquiz.app, and the Boston Coffee Company. Joining me to talk about the game from yesterday is Gav, Josh Lem, and Ali. I'll come to you first, Josh. How was your experience of trying to watch the game? I know you watched it back fully today, but being in and out of that party, trying to keep up with the result and how Wolves were playing, that must have been stressful.
Yeah, I think I went down to get a drink at about 35 minutes. I think it was when Sarr went down injured. Probably get called a plastic for not staying to watch the entire first half. And I still didn't get a drink until the second half started. But I seen it on the TVs, the amount of chances that Guedes had. I thought, we're really going to rue that, man. Like, we need to be putting some of these away. But, yeah, great day. Great performance. Gave it absolute large to people that would probably batter me. I couldn't ask for more, to be honest.
How about you, Ali? How was your day yesterday? What's your normal sort of match day ritual, and how did it all feel for you?
I couldn't actually make it yesterday, so I was at a second birthday party for my nephew. So I locked myself in a room to watch it with kids running in and out, adults running in and out, getting him away. That's not my usual routine, but just head in hands a lot in the first half as we missed all those chances that Josh said, and just had that similar feeling after the game at Villa Park, where we've had a very good first half, but think, are we going to regret missing a couple of these chances? And but yeah, second half, it was nice to see us for once dig in, defend well, don't do anything stupid, and see it out. But yeah, it wasn't the usual routine for me yesterday. But I don't care as long as we win.
That's similar for you, isn't it, Gav? I mean, you were unable to be at the game, but kept up with the game on a screen outside, was it? And then just watched the full game back.
Well, I was in and out of a birthday party myself, so I was trying to find the right balance of staying loyal to the team and not being disrespectful to the person I got invited to the party to. So, yeah, in and out the party, trying to watch that first half. Managed to watch the whole second half, to be fair. But yeah, trying to find the good balance between the two.
And what a hell of a difference a couple of days makes. And to go into that game, I know we talked about it on the preview show. I memean, Josh was there and Gav, and we weren't too positive about it. But looking at the actual starting 11, just over an hour before kickoff, obviously we knew that JSL was going to be out because of his issues with his hamstring. We got João Gomez out with his suspension. Seeing Jean-Luc Nabellegarde in the central midfield, even though it's been talked about, Josh, it was a surprise now to put him in for such a big game with such a pressure on his head going into it.
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise. Someone had to come in, and I didn't think it would be him. I thought it would be Tommy Doyle, but he really stepped up to the plate. I think for me, he was our man of the match. He was the best player on the pitch. And I think it's proven that despite, obviously, we still want signings, we still need help, we still need players in the squad to improve us and give us a bit more depth. But I think it's a bit of a sign that there are some answers in the squad as well. Because it got to a point where if Bellegarde was coming on, he was coming on to pretty much booze, to be honest, and it was not very nice, in all honesty. But he's come in, and he's done the job very, very well. And hats off to him, really.
Yeah, and looking at that starting 11, Ali, the one big surprise for me going into it is the Santi Bueno, who I think a lot of people thought was in good form, was dropped down to the bench, and Agbadou came in as the central defender. What was your thoughts on seeing Santi drop out the side?
Yeah, I was surprised. I thought Totti might come back in if he was fit enough, although he didn't come off the bench, did he? Or if he did, it was limited. He didn't play any minutes, did he, the week before when they said he might be fit. So I was slightly surprised to see Totti come straight back in from the start. If anything of those three, I thought Agbadou might move over to the right and then bring Santi and leave Santi in the middle. I don't think it's necessarily that Santi's done anything wrong, but I think Totti sort of fits that shape better, gives like Nori a bit better cover on that side, and allows Agbadou, who probably looks like our best centre half, to actually play in his proper position instead of being over on the left hand side. And then I suppose it's a shout between whether he drops Doherty and moves Agbadou to the right and Bueno in the middle, or as he did, leave Doherty in there, put Agbadou in the middle, and play Totti over on the left. I mean, it looks like he got it right, although it was nice that Santi still came on and not quite an assist, but made the tackle that then led to Huang's assist. So he still made a difference. But yeah, I was a little bit surprised that Totti came straight back in from the start. But yeah, I'm glad it worked.
Yeah, a massive amount of risk put into that starting 11. Might change it around as much as he did again, Gav. But the one player I want to talk about Agbadou a lot more later, because I thought he was fantastic again yesterday. But going into the game, obviously with the late kickoff, Everton have beat Leicester. Southampton have got this shock result away at Ipswich. There is a huge pressure on the team to get a result yesterday. How do you feel like the dressing room was? Do you think that was something that was playing into their minds, and there was a feeling that they've got to perform today?
You never know in the changing room, do you? They always say that they always focus on themselves and stuff, but you just think that, with how well the fixtures went in our favour, that in the back of their heads, they must have been like, okay, this is a time to take advantage. So it's hard to call if they actually had it up and they're like, lads, come on, results have gone our way. I mean, at the end of the day, we were playing Villa. It's a local derby. They were going to be up for the game, regardless, really, in my opinion.
Yeah, and obviously, talking about the actual game and how we started, I think we started a little bit quicker than we have in recent games. We started on the front foot, and I think Ali and Josh alluded to it straight away about the chances that we had. And one man who seemed to be full of energy and full of running was Gonçalo Guedes. And this rebirth that we're having, Josh, with him, and the effort levels that we're seeing, it doesn't seem like the same player, does he?
Yeah, it's like since Vitor Pereira's come in, it's literally like we've signed someone and he's just come in and he's playing like he never has before in a Wolves shirt. Obviously, he's unlucky not to score, and to be honest, you'd probably say it's quite poor of him not to get another goal there. But he's doing his bit for the team. I can't remember exactly what Vitor Pereira said, but he said that Gonçalo Guedes does have a place in his team, but he needs to focus whilst he's here at Wolves on playing for the team and not just focusing on himself. I think you've seen that with the amount of running he's done, getting himself into positions, and just helping the team be better, really. Yeah, I know when Vitor first come in, he was electric. He's dropped off a bit in between that, but he was really good again yesterday. Only unlucky not to score, and if that's how he's going to play every week, and that's where he's going to play while Strand Larsen's out, I think you could do worse than having him as a replacement for Strand Larsen, as long as he starts putting a few of them chances away.
Yeah, and I think that makeshift front three did really well, and probably looked a lot more like a Vitor Pereira side. I mean, he's not one who's looked for traditional number nines like JSL in the past. But I want to circle back around to Jean-Ric Bellegarde, and he linked up really well for that first goal with Pablo Sarabia, and Pablo should get all the plaudits for that pass. that's a hell of a finish to beat Emi Martinez at his near post, isn't it, Ali?
Yeah, I was watching it back before, and when he takes it in his stride, he's got a lot of the goal to aim at the other side of Martinez to go across him, and Guedes is screaming for it, and he just obviously you see the other angle from behind the goal where he obviously just absolutely leathers it, and his reaction afterwards, you just saw a lot of that come out of him. I'm assuming a lot of frustration that he hasn't been playing well, hasn't been playing in his best position. And he seemed to let it out both in the finish and then what he did afterwards. But as you say, yeah, the pass I thought from Sarabia, probably, I think that's what he offers if you can get him into those positions and you have willing runners off him. That's what Sarabia is good at. It's probably only him or Cunha could have picked that pass for Bellegarde, and again, that's also what Bellegarde can offer. If he's playing in the centre and running from deeper, he will make that run. Probably Gomez or Andre, that's not really their game. But I thought, even without the goal, I think Bellegarde was up there with, as well as Agbadou, and everyone played well, but he was up there with best players on the pitch. And you saw after that how he changed, how his confidence changed. He was going into tackles, carrying the ball, and it's kind of the guy that we saw when he made his debut over 12 months ago, playing in the centre. It was like, this is what he's back. That's what we thought we'd signed. But I thought he was brilliant yesterday. When I saw the lineups and saw sort of how the midfields might line up, you thought that could be tricky going with a 2. How's that going to work with Bellegarde in there? And Vitor had said before he doesn't see him in a 2, he sees him in a 3. But he proved everyone wrong. He played incredibly well yesterday, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. Hats off to Jean-Martin Bellegarde, and I think now he's set this benchmark. This is the level that he has to play at consistently for Wolves, and now we've found this sort of place for him. It's something that he can do and be part of, but I think the big problem with that is, Gav, that João Gomez is back for the Liverpool game, and so what does this mean for Jean-Martin? Because it's frustrating because he plays so well, and then you feel like immediately he goes out the team.
Yeah, well, everyone knows that Pereira wants to play with a midfield 3, so it's not like you can exactly say, well, we can do Andre, Gomez, and Bellegarde as a midfield 3 because he's already ruled that out, hasn't he, by saying he wants to play with a 2. But for me, to be fair, I haven't been a Bellegarde fan for the past couple of months. I actually quite liked him last season, and I thought he would really kick on this year. But he's been pretty slow, in my opinion, to be fair. But yesterday, I think we saw he's exactly what we needed, isn't he? That run in behind, Gomez isn't making that run. Andre isn't making that run. He's the only central midfielder that will score that goal, really, and that will make that run. So for me, it'd be hard to drop him, but it's hard not to, put Gomez back in the team. Would you maybe put Andre out and put Gomez in? I don't know, but that would be harsh on Andre as well. So it's, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, really. But for me, I'll try and play him, I'll try to keep him in if you can.
Yeah, I think it's a nice headache for Vita to have. And I think the one player, when I look at it, I feel like it's something that we've sort of needed. So when we had Leander Dendoncker, for example, you've got somebody who can run, he can stretch the play, he makes the runs in behind, and he makes a difference in the way that we play games. And I think that's sort of crucial depending on the type of opponent we have. And I think Joe Green says it nicely in the YouTube comments where he says impact sub. And I think that's essentially what it is. You want somebody who gives you something a little bit different in a game. Yeah. Or if you have like a João Gomez, he can come into a game when you need to be more combative and you've tried to control a game and play through the thirds like we did yesterday. The other thing that I wanted to touch on about the way that we played in that first half was the fact that everyone to a T pretty much, there was but one man, but I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want to. I don't think it's right. But I think everyone on the field really, really put higher energy effort levels in. And seeing the likes of Pablo Sarabia, even though he's not physically capable and able to run at high speeds and he's not the biggest guy, but even he's putting his body out about. Yeah. You've got Guedes who didn't look like he was interested up until the last few games. he's putting his body in. It's wonderful to see, isn't it? Just when you've got so many players who want to put these effort levels in and show they've actually got fight for this relegation battle.
Yeah, it's like it's night and day from what we've seen in the past few games, though. And I do think the crowd's made a massive difference. Whether the players themselves, there's not a lot of English players in that team. Did anyone English even start in that team? I don't think so. Off the top of my head, no. So I don't know if they'd really read into it being a derby so much, especially like Andre, for example. Brazilian derbies are very different, but I think the energy from the crowd, they would have felt that a lot, and I think that would have helped them to just run that little bit extra, put the foot in where maybe they're a bit hesitant to. But yeah, if we can play with that sort of energy every week, and we can show what the skill set of the team is capable of and actually play to those levels, we can stay in this league quite comfortably. I think it's just making sure we do that. In the league, I know our next game in the league is Liverpool away, so that's obviously going to be really tough. But I know our scene's been a bit of like runs of spells, hasn't it? So we started really tough, had a series of easier games, and I think we're coming towards the end of the last spell of really hard games now. So when we go on to the easier games, in quotation marks, if we show those energy levels and we play to our levels, then I think we can pick up some wins and stay in the division.
Yeah, I think you're bang on there, mate. I think that it's a benchmark now, and that's been set, and that's what we want to see moving forward as a fan base. I don't want to get too much onto transfer because I want to talk about that later, but the one player who's come in this window is Emmanuel Agbadou. He has been sensational. He's been a shining light and a really, really, really good player. And yesterday, he showed not only the qualities that we've seen up to this point, but there's another layer came into it, I thought, Ali, and that was leadership. And seeing him in the centre of that defence during the first half and through the whole game, you could see he was organising everything. He was setting it up. He was leading from that central position. Do you feel like that's something that's been missing in the squad? And when you've got like Santi Bueno in there, he doesn't seem like that sort of player. Having Emmanuel there, is that big for the side?
Yeah, I think it's massive. I don't want to hark back to the old days of Cody and Dawson or whoever, but I think that's been lacking massively this season. I think as Bueno has done okay, but that is not what he is. He's not a leader. He's not as physical. He's got nowhere near the physicality that Agbadou has. And I think at the back, that's obviously it's so important to have someone who will lead, who, especially in a team like ours where they are emotional, they are prone to making stupid decisions and letting games go for 5 minutes. And you think we've equalised and we go and concede straight away, or get someone sent off and concede straight away. You need somebody who can actually put a lid on things and say, just take 5 minutes, don't do anything daft. And I think that's what he can come to. I think he was captain, was he, where he's come from?
Yeah, so he's captained some games.
He's captained some games. He's a bit older, he's 27, isn't he? So he's got some experience behind him. I think it's massive. I mean, I think if Craig Dawson's legs hadn't gone, I'd probably still be vouching for him purely for that leadership element and the fact that that you could see earlier on in the season and last season in particular, he was the one leading that back line, probably more so than even Kilman was as captain. He was the vocal one. He was the one shouting at people from corners, telling it to pick up. And that, I think we've massively lacked that now that both we haven't had Dawson, really. We haven't had Kilman. That back line hasn't had a leader in there, hasn't had as much experience as we would have liked. And I think he brings that. And as well as, some of the blocks and nicking the ball off Watkins and just barging him out of the way. It's so long since we've had a centre-back who can do that. Probably going back to Bolly or, those days when you had somebody back there who the ball goes into the striker and he just ushers them out of the way. And he does the simple thing. I mean, his distributions come under a bit of scrutiny that it's not the best, but he's been playing on the wrong side. But he's not done anything that if he does misplace a pass, it goes out of play. It doesn't put you in immediately in the shit. I think he looks a brilliant side, but someone we were crying out for in the summer, isn't it? But I'm hoping it's better late than never. I thought he had a great game yesterday. He dominated everything. It was a block from Malan's shot that he made that he blocked towards the end in the second half. I thought he had a fantastic game. And it's no surprise that it's the first clean sheet that we've kept for forever. Totti looked better, Doherty looked, but the whole team looked better with a proper centre-back playing in his best position and being able to lead it from the middle. And I assume that's probably why he got moved into the middle and Bueno had to drop out, that he wanted him in the centre. I don't think that's a coincidence at all.
And you mentioned it there. I think Totti Gomez, him coming back in, Gav. I know you've talked about it as well in the past.
Yeah,
having this left-footed centre back who's quite experienced in the Premier League now. He's played a lot of games for Wolves. Him coming back in, it made a difference, didn't it, yesterday? And seeing him there, he made a difference to the way that we played and the way that we defended that game.
Yeah, definitely. I think the one thing that you'd have to say, which sums it up perfectly, was balance. Really, I think that back three now has got a bit of balance with it altogether. You know, Totti he's born for that left-sided of a centre back three. Centre back, I think he can still do a job as well. But I said at the start of the season, back two, I wouldn't fancy him at all. Back three, perfectly fine. And he brings balance to the game. And I think, to be fair, him and Ait-Nouri have a decent understanding, to be fair, generally speaking. So, it was good to see him back, to be fair. I think we had missed him. And I think now, as Ali said, looking for this extra, hopefully get an extra centre back in. But I think you'd be looking at maybe, even though Doc had a great game as well, I'm sure you'll get onto it. I think that's your back three, pretty nailed on for the time being, isn't it? Agbadou in the middle, Totti on the left, and then either Doc or a new centre back on the right hand side. So yeah, we've got a good balance now within the centre backs.
Yeah, and I thinking about sort of next season and hopefully beat Dublin in the league.
Yeah,
we've had a comment here from Joe Green, and it's a bit tasty, I'll tell you. Agbadou, Totti Gomez, and Yesa Mosquera as a back three. That is a absolutely terrifying idea for Premier League forwards to be facing. Yesa Mosquera, wandering fingers against Arsenal. He's a hell of a talent. Agbadou, he looks class. Totti Gomez, he's looking much more confident in the back three. Brilliant. I hope hopefully we can benefit from that next year and see those three together. I think it would be a hell of a defence. Moving on to the second half, Unai Emery, he must have been a little bit worried because looking at half time, seeing all those Villa players warming up, and they were warming up intensely, and then going in and making 4 changes at the half. I don't think we've ever seen that against a Wolves side, have we, Josh?
No, I can't remember ever seeing it. I can't remember seeing it ever against anyone, to be honest. 4 changes at half time. But I think it's something he had to do. They offered absolutely nothing in that first half. They had a bit more going forward in the second half, whether it's due to the changes or just coming out with a bit more fight. But in the first half, I really can't remember them doing anything, to be honest. So I think he had to make the changes. I can't remember. I know Onana came on. Other than that, I can't really remember. Did Watkins go off because he was injured for
that was
Marlon?
forced, I think. Yeah, that was a force for sub, wasn't it?
So you got Onana, Marlon, Maatsen, and Leon Bailey.
Yeah, so probably just going for a bit more creativity or something a bit more direct with Maatsen coming on and then Bailey coming on. But yeah, I think obviously forced to make the changes through Watkins, but I think forced to make the other changes through performances. And yeah, I think we did well to keep him at bay for the second half, really.
Yeah, and talking about substitutions, I feel like Vita Pereira managed it quite well yesterday, Ali. I mean, Juan came on. He seemed to do okay. He could have had a couple of chances if Cunha had laid him through. You're talking about Tommy Doyle coming in, being part of it. Santi Bueno, you mentioned earlier. It felt like the game management of Vita Pereira was very well, wholly well constructed yesterday. I'll get my words out. Do you feel like he got everything bang on yesterday? And do you feel like the substitutions really helped us see out the game and control the way that we finished it?
Yeah, I think I could see at that point they came on, you could feel whilst Villa hadn't really created a lot, the pressure was sort of mounting a bit. They'd had a lot of possession.
Yeah.
and we were struggling to get out. A few of them looked like a little bit out on their feet, and you just felt as though, I think like Nori went down, didn't he? And sort of did his sort of 70-minute cramp. And then it kind of went, right, we needed to take stock. And I think that's where, under O'Neill previously, where he didn't change it early enough. He'd let things go just because he felt as though we had control and stuff. But you could feel it coming unless he changed something and unless he got some legs on. And obviously they had the faffing around with which subs were coming on and who was coming off. But I think it made a difference. I think bringing Doyle on, he just, his physicality is in question, but he put himself about. He can keep the ball. You know what you're going to get from Tommy Doyle. Same with Rodrigo Gomez. He went in on the left, obviously, and he's going to give you that energy on that side. And it just gave us another outlet that you could go that way, and Doyle could play the balls over the top. The same with Hwang. It gave you someone who else, once Guedes went off, that who would run in behind, and that you could look for that option. So yeah, I think he got. Well, I think he proves in the pudding. He got it right because we went on to win the game. Yeah. But I sensed at the time you felt as though Villa haven't created anything. But when you've only got a 1-goal cushion, and a team like Villa, it's only going to take them one opportunity. So I was glad he did it when he did. I was sort of at the point of, I think he needs to change this now because it's feeling like we're not getting out. And after we then did have a spell where we had a little bit more play in their half. So yeah, he got it absolutely right. And then bringing Bueno on at the end just to lock it up was exactly the right thing to do. And again, things we haven't done in the past of bringing on another defender and saying, just shore this up now. We don't need to do anything else. So no, I thought he managed it. He managed it very well. And the teams need to manage their emotions well and stay in shape, battle for everything. So yeah, I think they got it all. They all got it absolutely right.
Yeah. I have a nice comment actually for you here, Ali. It's comments on Twitter. And I hope you have your CV updated because Mikey Burrows, fantastic commentator from Wolves, says, is Ali available as a set-piece coach? The organisation of those pillars and cushions surely can transfer to tactical structure. How about it? Stick your CV in, replace Gary O'Neill's old set-piece coach?
Possibly. They're in what are they in? A 3-2? Is it a quad 2 formation? I think they're in at the moment. It's a bit zonal. It's a bit zonal though. So
it's a bit Pep Guardiola, that is, isn't it? It's a bit modern football.
A bit radical.
But I had some more comments I want to touch on real quick. People said talking about who we haven't talked about. Andre not being talked about. If I wax lyrical about everyone, I think we'd be doing a 3-hour show because I think, as we talked about a minute ago, every player to a T played their role in that game yesterday, and I think you can really make a case for pretty much every player being up there and having a high rating. Going into that sort of like last 10 minutes, Gav.
Yeah.
It's one of them old Wolves feelings. Okay, you feel like, okay, Villa are gonna score.
Yeah.
And then it happened. They put the ball in the back of the net. What's your view on that goal? I mean, it was given as offside. I know the Villa fans are going absolutely mental about it because they don't feel like it is.
Yeah.
But to me, it's obvious he's interfered with the defender. He can't get back, so he can't block the cross. You think it's offside, surely, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think, to be honest, I don't know why people are making a big deal out of it because ultimately, Rodgers has come from an offside position. Yeah, fair enough. He hasn't really held Semedo back as such, but at the end of the day, he's in his path, isn't he, for Semedo to get out to McGinn, and for me, that's more than enough with interfering with play. I think I was talking to a couple of Villa fans and they were moaning. I think if I was a Villa fan, I'd be moaning at Morgan Rodgers for even giving the referee a decision to make, really, because I think if that ball gets played out to McGinn, Semedo's not getting there anyway, in my opinion. So Rodgers he's gave him something to look at, hasn't he? If Rodgers stays, in line like all the other Villa players, that ball gets played out wide to McGinn. Semedo won't get there, 100% won't get there. McGinn plays it across the box, and it's a tap in, so like it ended up being anyway. So, right decision for me. No complaints.
Yeah, I think they're grasping at straws by talking about that over and over again.
Yeah.
And obviously going into it, Villa were pressing and pressing and pressing for an equaliser, Josh. Taylor's oldest time, Wolves on the counter, score again. It's that man, the man of the moment. Everyone's been talking about him. Beautifully in the background, Matheus Cunha. Just talk me through the goal, mate. Just talk me through it.
So, to be fair, I didn't really see up until the point Cunha was in the box because I was just giving some not fit for YouTube signs to the away end, shall we say. But it was like that was like a heritage Wolves goal, wasn't it? You're under the cosh, and somehow the ball just finds its way up to the pitch to one of your best players. I think he does so well to nick the ball off Konsa, and this moment here, he's just held play up just enough to give himself a bit of space and get the shot away. Oh, I went mental, man. I went absolutely mental. I don't know why Aston Villa fans or just away fans in general record home fans celebrating. I think that's so strange, but I'm thankful they have because I absolutely loved it, man. Like, it was like I was expecting to score as much as I was like, we can hold on for a 1-0 here. And when the ball went in the net, it was like every piece of emotion, it just bottled up, just exploded, man. It was incredible.
It was fantastic. It just everything felt right. And then that moment, that special moment, and we saw it in the celebrations. Did we actually see that? And that little scribble with his arm, I think we all knew what was coming, Ali. And obviously it was all announced after the game, but the man, the myth, the legend, Matheus Cunha, yeah, he's signed up till 2029. Fantastic news, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think it wasn't necessarily his best game yesterday until the end, but I think he needed that goal and that moment. It felt a bit like the United game where we broke away at the end, and it was just nice to put a seal on it so you could actually enjoy the last minute without fretting. But yeah, you could see from his celebration that there's been a lot of noise around him. Suspect we all know where it's been coming from. Whether or not anyone was making any concrete offers or not, I don't know. But I think for the club, we just needed some for the last sort of, after a big win, the last sort of 24, 48 hours of the transfer window. We don't need to now fret about it, and he can focus on, he's got 4 or 5 months, just keep us in the league. We'll come back in the summer and have another chat. But for now, just keep us up. You've kept us this far. And obviously it takes away that background noise around what his future held, and he can get back to just focusing on playing for Wolves, scoring goals and keeping us in the league. It was very well timed. Couldn't have been timed better. Whether they planned it out like that, I don't know. But yeah, it came at the perfect time. And I think we all probably needed it just to put that one to bed.
Yeah, I think there was just a beautiful level of poetry, and it did feel like a bit of a movie script that he would score late in the game and do that celebration. It would all get announced on the same day.
Can I just quickly say something?
Of course.
I think that it's so important that he's done that. Not even necessarily for like how he can focus and just focus on just playing now. He doesn't have to worry about the contract situation. I think if he didn't sign this contract and he continues to play poorly, whatever, I think we might get to the summer and it might tarnish what he's done a little bit. But I think now he's signed the contract, he's secured us financially, because let's be honest, he's going to go in the summer. But we now know we're securing what we're going to get for him, go down, stay up, whatever happens. And I think regardless of what happens now, we can all, when he goes in the summer, we can all sit back and think, yeah, I don't have a bad word to say about him.
Yeah, well put, mate. And I think that's very, very important that he repairs the damage that he'd done in the recent weeks to his legacy. And I think we as Wolves fans, we didn't want it. We didn't want to see it because he doesn't fall into the same category as a lot of these other players who've gone on strike and tarnished their Wolves career and everything they've done good for the club. So it is fantastic news from that regard. The other bit of news following the game was that apparently Kevin Danso was coming, Gav, and it was all agreed. He was coming here on loan. And then Daniel Levy made a phone call, and rats be rats. And he's gone off to White Hart Lane. Tell me what you think about this, mate.
To be honest, mate, I'm not really surprised. Like, I mean, I think everyone knew he didn't want to come, and you can't force someone to be here. And at the end of the day, I think we were looking at a loan for the rest of the season with no obligation. I think that was the deal we had in the end. So he wasn't really planning on sticking around. And if he was gonna come and there was no obligation to buy, or he wasn't gonna stay at the end of the season, him not playing very well or him not caring doesn't really matter, because he wasn't going to play in the championship next year, was he? You know what I mean? There was no repercussions for him at the end of the day if we went down or stayed up. So he didn't really have much to play for, did he? If he came to us, and like I said, he didn't want to be here anyway. So I think we have dodged a bullet. Obviously, it's a bit shit because they pulled the rug last second, and that's left us running around with less than 24 hours to go now. We're just over 24 hours to go. Trying to get a centre back through the door. But yeah, even though from what I heard is that he was looking to only stay here for 6 months and then put himself in the shop window to get a move to Tottenham anyway. So I guess he saved 6 months.
Yeah, it's highly frustrating. I think a lot of fans all take the easy road and say, okay, he's somebody who we targeted at the start of the window and we tried to bring in, and he said no then, and then he's done this, and they should have seen it coming. But as notoriously, it is a difficult window, and I think there's still chance going into it that we'll sign somebody before the end of the deadline tomorrow. But shameless plug time. If you want to buy something, because Wolves won't, we have free shipping on our Fancast merch this weekend for UK customers. So if you want to go on there, you can see all the brand new designs. We've got Agbadou t-shirt, Colonel Agbadou. We've got some old legends in John DeWolf, Ludovic Polle, all these fantastic designs that are all done in-house by the Fancast team. So if you want to see any of those and get some free shipping on the UK deliveries up till midnight tonight, that's midnight to the 2nd of February 2025, go over to wolvesfancast.tmill.com. That's wolvesfancast.temill.com. Shameless plug over.
No, to be fair, the Gomez t-shirt's really nice. I'll probably end up getting that one myself.
Yeah, it's fine. I think Little Dan's done a fantastic job with a lot of these designs. And I think the help with Dean Marsden has been brilliant. Tomorrow is deadline day. I know we're going to probably be doing a show for deadline day, but we found ourselves in the same situation again. And I know the likes of Stu Hall are going to say it. Same old Wolves over and over again. And does it feel like it, Josh, that we've wasted another month trying to get players in that don't want to be here, and we put all our eggs in one basket and now we're chasing our tail?
It does, and obviously it's a bit more complex than that when you talk about transfers, especially in January, because I think behind closed doors, players are a lot more fickle than fans think, perhaps even more so than fans are when it comes to transfers and things like that. And I think Danso, would he have come to Wolves if Tottenham didn't come in? Yeah, but if you're him, can you really blame him for going Tottenham instead of us? I do think it's a bit of a dodge bullet. Because as Gav said, like if he has no reason to perform well here, he's on loan for 6 months. He's not going to stay here after that. Would he have helped the dressing room not really wanting to be here? Maybe would have, probably wouldn't have though. I'm having flashbacks to Renato Sanchez 2 or 3 years ago. I am. But I don't know. I think the Bellegarde situation kind of helps it a bit, because I think it makes you think, okay, well maybe the vote, because we were looking at really getting a defender in, a midfielder in, and a striker in. I think it helps you out a bit because you don't really need to look at getting a midfielder in as much. I think a defender's still quite a priority, to be honest. As good as Doherty's been, you'd still like to get a real natural centre half in there to upgrade on that position, and probably still another centre forward. But yeah, it does feel like we've wasted the window a bit. Yeah, we just need to be more active, man, proactive as well. Yeah. I don't know why it takes so late into the window to try and make these deals happen. These deals shouldn't start being made. And obviously things happen behind closed doors we don't know about, but these things should have been being worked on in late November, December to get players in at the start of January, because how many games have we lost and just wasted because we didn't get the players in that we needed?
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there's a certain level of pressure that's been put on players to play our position and to be involved. Like Doherty, you've got other players who have been having to shoehorn in and a lot of pressure on Vitor Pereira to sort of work with a team that's not his as well. Let's not forget that this is Gary O'Neill's team still, and really only Emmanuel Agbadou is a player that Vitor Pereira has, clinically gone on the record and said he is my player. I bought him in. He's from my squad, sort of thing. The couple of players have been linked. That man is back at it again, George Menz. Apparently, he is negotiating for Wolves in a bid to bring the Ukrainian midfielder Brashko to Wolves. Him and Josh Brownhill are the two midfielder names that have been linked to Wolves. On paper, it feels a bit underwhelming, doesn't it, Ali?
It does. I mean, I know Josh Brownhill because we've watched him for Burnley, and we've been linked with him before. I think last year we were linked with him. We were under O'Neill, and I think that's probably where that's come from. He's obviously out of contract in the summer, so it's a cheap deal. He's homegrown, so he ticks that box. So he's somebody that we can add to the squad quite easily, I believe. But it's not. I'm not entirely sure what he offers that we don't already have, or how much he really brings. As Josh said, particularly as given up after Balagar's performance yesterday, you kind of think, well, is that such a priority? I mean, it's the elephant in the room. Obviously, is the fact that he's looking for a physical midfielder. We had one, but he's thrown the towel in and wants to go. He wants to leave, but can't find a club will take him in Lamina. I mean, the Ukrainian guy, I can't say I'm watched much of Dino Kiev play in the last couple of years. Sounds like the physical midfielder that he wants. It's a 20 million that's being talked about. So it's quite a chunky fee. But he scored. I think I've heard a few of his stats. He scored a few goals. He might be a good player. I would focus, as Josh said, on getting a centre half in. It feels like we're still one light there. For someone to play on the right side. As if we lost, heaven forbid, Agbadou or one of those, Agbadou or Totti again, you just feel like we're a bit back to square one again. So I think I'd be focusing on trying to get a centre half in after the Danso deal fell through, and that's where I'd be that's where I'd be focusing my attention on the last day, as opposed to central midfield, where we're probably just about okay. But yeah, they're not exactly those two names being spoken about. They're not the most exciting. But then again, I hadn't watched much of Agbadou either, and I've been impressed. So you never know. Maybe pluck a diamond out of somewhere that we didn't know about. But I think the important thing is we get players who are ready to play. They're not for 2 years' time or a year's time. They're ready to play. And I suppose Brownhill knows the league, so he would be ready to come straight in. But whoever they bring in at the back, he needs to be someone who can actually play straight away. Yeah.
I think that's a fantastic point. And I think Dean Marsden said it in recent times as well, that we bring in players who are this sort of oven ready. They're not 22, 23. They're in that 26 to 30 bracket, and that they will have an immediate impact on the starting 11. Obviously, Vitor Pereira, this is his first window, Gav, and he's been looking at the players. He's been trying to assess the situation. Do you think there's a level? I think there's a comment here from Todd DeWitt, famous Wolves fan from Minnesota. Lovely man, Todd. When it comes to the transfers at the club's always been very reactive instead of proactive over the last few windows. Do you think there is a level of this because of the fact that obviously Vitor is still learning about the players that he's got? He's still learning about the side.
Yeah.
Do you think he's being very reactive game to game to try and understand, actually, we do need another centre-back, or we may even need another midfielder, or we don't now because of Bellegarde?
Yeah.
This reactiveness is because he's so new to the job and he hasn't had enough time to work with the players yet.
Yeah. Well, he came in December, didn't he? Toward the end of December. So you've got to give players a month before you can really make a call on them, really. But to be fair, he had, in regards to the midfielder and the centre-back, he has been calling that for a couple of weeks, hasn't he? So it's not like he's all of a sudden in the last week of the window, he's turned around and said, yeah, you know what? I've had a look at the squad. We need a centre-back and we need a midfielder. He said that for a few weeks. So, I take the point where he's still assessing the squad, but I think he's already made his mind up on on certain players. For example, Dawson, he hasn't had a kick for whatever reason. He's been binned out, so he's looking for a replacement there. Obviously, the Lamina situation, that was probably, unexpected, the way he's gone AWOL, so to speak. So that was probably a replacement. Maybe a midfielder wasn't on the cards if Lamina was committed, but obviously he's not. So maybe they're being reactive in that sense. And to be fair, you can't what's the word? Compensate for players who going on not strike, but not wanting to play or whatever. So it's a hard one to call, but I think they've done what they've. I was going to say they've done what they can. They haven't, because they haven't got the players in. But hopefully by the end of the window, Pereira will have what he wants and what he needs.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing, is that the man in charge, the man at the very top, and that's not Jeff Shee in my eyes. That'll always be the manager. That'll always be Vitor Pereira. He's the one who dictates the way that things work at the club and sets it up. As long as he's happy, as long as he believes and he has that faith in the side that he can do it with this squad, then I'm happy. And I think Max Wright in the comments has just put a little thing there that if we do, I sleep better, and that says it all. That if we as a squad are able to do everything that he wants to do and achieve the things that he wants to do in the way that he sets it out, he can relax. It's important, and I think that's the key thing, is that we work with what we've got to try and build something in his image, and then it feels like going into the summer it's going to be a big rework again. Jorgen Strand Larsen, I don't know whether I think we have signed him now, but he feels like he might not be involved long term because he's not part of this system. After yesterday, he might not be the right fit for what we want to do with Vitor Pereira. But looking at it, I mean, it feels like a failed window. And I think going into it, there is a level of feeling that Wolves fans are disappointed with Fosun and disappointed with the way that the club set it up. But I think as Josh was saying, or Ali, that we don't understand what happens behind closed doors. We don't understand the things that people go through, what the players go through, and the choices that they have to make. Because let's not forget that they have to up their whole life to come to Wolverhampton. And a lot of these players have never even heard of Wolverhampton and the surrounding area. They might have heard of Birmingham if we're lucky. But there's a hell of a lot of pressure to move your whole life, and if they've got kids and wives, they've got to sign into it as well. So it's not as simple as we all think, and it's not Football Manager. But
I mean, there must be a reason every club does. I mean, every club does it, really, don't they? Look at Villa in the last 24 hours of Rashford, Asensio. Rashford's been on the market all the whole time. Why has that not happened? Yeah. Obviously, it's triggered by Durant. There are, I think, moving pieces, and you get one or two start to go. Is it the lad from Chelsea? That will trigger Spurs or Chelsea moving pieces. Villa as well. Yeah. I mean, I suspect Danso would never have ended up at Spurs if we weren't about to buy him. And is it Danso? I forget his name. The lad who's just got injured. It's so many, I think, different things. I'm not giving Fosun any credit here, but I suspect there are elements of clubs are reluctant to let people go until towards the end, when they start to see how things are going to pan out, and so that it's not that easy to get people over the line as early as we'd want.
Yeah.
But then it is still. I mean, that window we had a couple of years ago under Lopetegui, we did actually get people in early. Cunha was here before. It clearly can be done, but I think there is a lot of every other club is more or less in the same, but they wait till it all happens in the last couple of days, where everything seems to happen very quickly. And I suspect it is just all this different moving parts. One triggers another. It happens in the summer, but then we've all been here with Foss, and we know that we're probably not going to get everything that we want, and the manager's not going to get everything that they want. We probably are going to be left one or two short, but it would be great if we get one or two in tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think you summed it up beautifully, and I think there's exactly everything that you said there. There's always moving doors, and I think there's a lot of pressure being put on the club, and hopefully we get the right outcome. But independent of what happens tomorrow, independent of who comes, we still have to support the team, support the players, and if Vitor Pereira and the players on the pitch can give us similar results to what we had yesterday and similar effort levels, we ain't going to go too far wrong. Sort of wrapping that up, because I know we're probably going to be live tomorrow for transfers, so I don't want to go too deep into it.
Yeah.
I want to come around and ask everyone, because I think we've got a real mixed bag with yesterday, and I want to ask people who their man of the match was. I'll come to you first, Josh. Who impressed you the most? And it's probably a difficult choice, right?
Yeah. I think there was a lot of good players. I think the main three are Totti, Agbadou, and Bellegarde, and I think the two that really, really excelled were Agbadou and Bellegarde. I personally would give it Bellegarde, whether that's swayed a little bit due to the fact that no one's really expected him to play that well. But for him to be not really have any consistency in the team, he's been poor whenever he's come in, not really had a position in the team, and to come in and basically be a big part of the difference as to why we won the match, I'd go for Bellegarde.
Yeah, I think it's a good choice. How about you, Ali? Who was your man of the match for yesterday?
Yeah, special mention for the players Josh mentioned there. I mean, yeah, Bellegarde was obviously great. Sound like Stu here, but play someone in their actual position and they pull out the best performance they've put. I'm going to give it to, in Dan's absence, I'm going to give it to Sarabia. Because I don't think we get away with it if little Dan was here. So no, I'm going to give it to Sarabia. So I'm going to give it to Sarabia, mainly for his first half performance, but I thought he was particularly good.
Yeah, this is a Sarabia safe zone. I'm one of the few people who likes him, so you're fine. I think sentiments on that one. I think he did fantastic, and I think seeing his effort levels, like you said, in that first half, and seeing throwing his body around for somebody so small and somebody we have not really seen that sort of level of intensity from him on the football pitch. It was beautiful to see. Gav, who are you picking? Are you same as where Josh is? Are you going to go a bit surprising with Sarabia, or are you going to go for something completely different?
I'm going to go for Totti Gomez, just because he was out the team for a while. It's his first game back, and he didn't put a foot wrong, did he? I think there was that clip of where all the Wolves players were putting in challenge after challenge, and then we won the ball back. You know, Totti was part of that, and he was coming out with the ball and stuff. You know, he didn't look out of place. Did he? You know, so confident, even though he ain't been in the team for 3-4 games. And to be fair, Totti's one of them. Is like on the ball. Sometimes you can see he's got a bit of a rick in him, but yesterday I think he was so comfortable on the ball, and he didn't look rough. He didn't look out of place or anything. So. No, fair play. I'll give it to Totti, to be fair.
Yeah, I think they all did well. I think special mentions as well. Jose Sarr had a very, very mentality, really good game. No stupid moments, which is brilliant to see. Andre again, continuing his fantastic form. Captain Nelson at right back, I thought he did brilliant again. And Matt Doherty, obviously playing out of position, thought he was brilliant. So I don't think anyone on that pitch really could take any sort of flack from yesterday. It was a fantastic performance all round. Thank you guys for being on with me tonight to talk about the game. Thank you everyone who's commented on YouTube or on Twitter and been with us tonight, and everyone who listens to us through all your podcast means. Please, if you are not following us on social media, follow us on. We are on Blue Sky now. We're on Twitter. Follow us, like and subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you ring that bell so you're getting all the Wolves Fancast content as it comes out. But catch us on YouTube and all social media with Wolves Fancast. Roll on Blackburn next week. I think FA Cup. Let's be up for it. Let's keep that good feeling going. Hopefully we can get another result, get to the 5th round, keep that good feeling going into Liverpool. But thank you everyone who's joined us. Thank you everyone in the comments. Ali, get sure that CV's updated. Let's get you a job as the new set piece coach. Thank you all, and I'll catch you next time, Wolves fans. Hopefully with a bit more happiness tomorrow night. We will be signing a few more players. So peace out.